What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come in and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to talk about a discussion that was had recently on a podcast, Run It Back podcast, right? And they were talking about Tim Duncan versus Kobe Bryant, like which one was greater. And so I thought it was an interesting conversation because both Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant, both of those guys had 5 rings, right? And so they just did it differently. Kobe Bryant was he's a 2 guard, more of a slasher, and did his thing as far as like with the his mid range, his turnaround, more flashy of a player, right? More Kobe was more outgoing too, and so a lot of people probably would pick Kobe because of that, right? But then you had Tim Duncan, who was more of definitely a low post player, but just was more of a blue collar type worker. Just did what he needed to do in that low post, and took care of business there, in that way. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the audio from Run It Back podcast and listen to their take, and then I'm gonna come back and give my take, like which one of these guys I think was whose career, both of these guys were great ball players, but whose career or who's the greater in my opinion.
Tim Duncan over Kobe Bryant all time, and he thinks that it's actually outrageous when people do it the other way. Interesting, Chandler. Duncan over Kobe, yay, nay. Buying it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. It's not that controversial then.
I don't think it is. I think if you look up most of the rankings, I think most people have Tim Duncan ranked ahead of him. And again, it's all different. Like and our rankings will change based on the new age guys like Bill, Kareem, and Wilt that are going to be ranked up high on certain rankings. But when it comes down to Kobe and Tim Duncan, I think Tim Duncan is ranked ahead of him. And most people.
Anybody disagree? Agree. Oh, well, who's doing something over there? What are we doing?
We got to stop trying Kobe.
No, we're not trying Kobe. We're not. Are we not trying Tim Duncan?
No, hold on. Slow down, Chandler, before you jump on me.
Damn.
It's too many conversations around Kobe's legacy these days for my liking. Like, we know who Kobe Bryant was, and this has nothing to do with Tim Duncan. I'm going on a soapbox.
Oh, here we go.
It has nothing to do with Tim Duncan. We got to stop trying Kobe's legacy, comparing him to this person, comparing him to that person. When that man was alive and well, none of this was a conversation. His legacy wasn't confused. Who he was, his iconic status, his star status, none of those things were questioned or confused. It was either he was 1, he was either 2, he was either 3. The end. It wasn't about Tracy McGrady. It wasn't about Tim Duncan. It wasn't about any of these people. So now all of a sudden that door is open because there's nobody to defend him but his fans and us. So I'm going to step up and say, let's stop this with Kobe. Leave him alone. Leave it alone. Allow him to.
Wait, so he's better than Tim Duncan?
I think so.
Well, there it is.
What conversation have we had? What conversation have we had that Kobe Bryant hasn't? It hasn't been LeBron, Michael Jordan.
Well, you know what? You know why the defense of that is? Because nobody ever gives Tim Duncan the proper amount of respect.
That's a different conversation. We can give Tim Duncan all the respect and love in the world without bringing Kobe Bryant into that conversation.
But if we're doing a list of the best of all time, then we have to.
Kobe Bryant, on 99.8% of all of those lists, Kobe Bryant is in the top 3 of all of them.
But my point is that those lists are wrong.
If you look at the rankings of the NBA players, he's not top 3 of most of the rankings. Just Google top 3. I
don't want to Google it. We, for a fact, 3 basketball players sitting up here. Which one of us is not going to have Kobe Bryant in our top 3?
Me.
That's it.
Me.
Top 3.
Top 3?
So you're
and I love him.
So you're in that 0.2 I just talked about.
I think your numbers are wrong. I think your numbers are way off here. I think if you look at rankings.
I'll have
15 seconds. Tim Duncan, Kobe. Who's higher?
Oh, y'all done arguing? I wanted y'all to keep going.
You know what? We'll carry this.
Tim Duncan or
Kobe. We be back tomorrow.
Tim Duncan or Kobe. See you tomorrow.
So Boogie Cousins didn't chime in, right? But I think it's an interesting, because the conversation is like, what do you like? Kobe game is like more aesthetically pleasing to watch, right? So that's probably why a lot of people would probably choose Kobe over Tim Duncan. That's tough. Um, if I had to, I would choose Tim Duncan because his game was, I mean, it was basic. He had a basic game. You know, very efficient. Didn't do a whole lot of, wasn't no unnecessary dribbling or unnecessary movements to his game. He just operated in his area, and he was like one of the best at it, right? Like I said, Kobe Bryant was more of a flashy ball player, more aesthetically pleasing to watch than Tim Duncan. Had a more of a outgoing personality, like the fans. He was more fun to watch than Tim Duncan. So if unless you're like a diehard basketball fan and you just appreciate low post ball players or anybody who is a professional at their craft, then you probably wouldn't appreciate Tim Duncan. But people who like flash and 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 guys who are more, I'm not gonna say arrogant, but more aesthetically pleasing to watch, then people gonna go with Kobe. Both of them, they was probably about as effectiveness, they probably was about the same. But if I had to choose like which one, like whose career I would prefer to have, it probably would be Tim Duncan. You know, and Lou Williams mentioned the fact that, like Kobe off the court, like Kobe off the court was also a star and more popular. And with me, I wouldn't want that. I would probably would like to be like Tim Duncan. Like he probably can move around and go places, and people know who he is, but they probably don't really. He probably have a little bit more freedom publicly of moving around than what Kobe did. So if I had to choose like whose career I would probably want to have, it probably would be Tim Duncan. And it's crazy, right? Because people say, all right, so if you have Kobe in your top 3 of all time, which I don't know if I what man, that's tough. Do I have Kobe? Would I have him top 3 all time? I don't know. I don't like those lists because I don't like comparing eras, right? I just got Mike at the top, and whoever's number 2. I think Kobe is the closest thing to Mike when you talk about like their games look alike. Kobe is the closest to Mike. But yeah, man, if I had to choose like whose career I would prefer to have, I would prefer to have Tim Duncan's, man, because all the stuff that Kobe had to go through off the court, as far as endorsements and all that stuff, man. I just wouldn't want that attention off the court. Once you play basketball, you play the game that you love, and when you away from work, you're away from work. You don't have to worry about being a superstar, and people, a whole bunch of people wanting autographs, and you can't sit down and eat a meal, because you attract so much attention. But Tim Duncan, man, was very effective, excellent basketball player. Like I say, he led his team to he had 5 championship rings, the same as Kobe. But I don't know like who I would rank as a better individual player. Like I said, I would prefer to be Tim Duncan. I'm trying to think if Tim Duncan's career, how long was Tim Duncan's career? But either way, man, I think Tim Duncan played longer than Kobe, right? And because he, to me, was a more efficient ball player, than Kobe. Kobe had to work a little bit harder for his baskets than Tim Duncan did. And yeah, and this is not the first time I heard this discussion about comparing Tim Duncan to Kobe Bryant. It's a valid discussion though, because Tim Duncan don't get the because he's not a flashy dude, he don't get the attention, or he don't get brought up as much in those GOAT conversations, right? That's why when it comes to basketball, like I said, it's just Mike. A lot of people, you could have Kareem in there, in your top 3 or your top 5. You could have Kobe in there, um, you know, or whoever you want to have in there. But Mike is number 1, And I think it's not unfair to compare Kobe's career to Tim Duncan's career. If I had a choice, I would take Tim Duncan, but that's my take on it. Y'all make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, let me know whose career would you prefer to have? Would you prefer to have Kobe's career or Tim Duncan's career? And with that being said, man, I'm going to check y'all out in the next video. Peace.